General's Orders, Number 11. Headquarters, Grand Army of the Republic, Washington, D.C., May 5th, 1868. The 30th day of May, 1868, is designated for the purpose of strewing with flowers, or otherwise decorating the grave of comrades who died in defense of their country during the late rebellion, and whose bodies now lie in almost every city, village, hamlet, and churchyard in the land. In this observance, no form or ceremony is prescribed, but posts and comrades will, in their own way, arrange such fitting services and testimonials of respect as circumstances may permit. We are organized, comrades, as our regulations tell us, for the purpose, among other things, of preserving and strengthening those kind of fraternal feelings which have bound together the soldiers, sailors, and marines, who united to suppress the late rebellion. What can aid more to assure this result than by cherishing tenderly the memory of our heroic dead, who made their breasts a barricade between our country and its foes? The soldier lives were the reveal of freedom to a race in chains, and their deaths the tattoo of a rebellious tyranny in arms. We should guard their graves with sacred vigilance. All that the consecrated wealth and taste of the nation can add to their adornment and security is but a fitting tribute to the memory of her slain defenders. Let no wanton foot tread rudely on such hallowed grounds. Let pleasant paths invite the coming and going of reverent visitors and found mourners. Let no vandalism of avarice or neglect, no ravages of time testify to the present or to the coming generations that we have forgotten as a people the cost of a free and undivided republic. If other eyes grow dull and other hands slack, and other hearts cold in the solemn trust, ours shall keep it well, as long as the light and warmth of life remain to us. Let us, then, at the time appointed, gather around their sacred remains, and garland the passionless mounds above them with choicest flowers of springtime. Let us raise above them the dear old flag they saved from dishonor. Let us, in this solemn presence, renew our pledges to aid and assist those whom they have left among us, as sacred charges upon the nation's gratitude, the soldiers and sailors, widow and orphan. It is the purpose of the Commander-in-Chief to inaugurate this observance, with the hope it will be kept up from year to year. While a survivor of war remains to honor the memory of his departed comrades, he earnestly desires the public press to call attention to this order and lend its friendly aid in bringing it to the notice of comrades in all parts of the country, in time for simultaneous compliance therewith. Department commanders will use every effort to make this order effective. By the order of John A. Logan, Commander-in-Chief.
The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, a proclamation. Whereas, while the nation was still recovering from the horrors of the Civil War, people in cities and towns across the country gathered to honor those Union and Confederate soldiers who had given their lives, celebrating the first Decoration Day. And, whereas, after World War I, the nation came together again to honor those who had fallen in the service of their country. Renamed Memorial Day, the last Monday in May is when people remember and honor the memory of all the men and women who fought and died in all American wars and conflicts. And, whereas, throughout our country's history, thousands of Massachusetts citizens have fought in wars and conflicts to defend our safety and way of life. And, whereas, their legacy of patriotism and dedication to country is an inspiration to all Americans. And, whereas, it is appropriate that all Massachusetts citizens remember the bravery of those who gave their lives so that their sacrifices serve as a reminder of the cost of our freedom. Now, therefore, I, Charles D. Baker, Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim May 25th, 2020 to be Memorial Day, and urge all the citizens of the Commonwealth to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance, given at the Executive Chamber in Boston this first day of May in the year 2020, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 243rd, by His Excellency signed Charles Baker, Governor of the Commonwealth, Karen E. Polito, Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth, William Francis Galvin, Secretary of the Commonwealth. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Hello, Northborough. My name is Danielle Gregoire, and along with Harold Naughton, I am proud to represent the town of Northborough in the Massachusetts House of Representatives. I'm coming to you today remotely from my office in Marlborough to celebrate Memorial Day. Our Memorial Day, well, it looks a lot different this year due to recent world and state and national events. But we're still here to celebrate and think about those who made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Memorial Day is not a new tradition. We participate in a celebration of it every year, but it started as early as the 400s, and in this country, as early as the 1800s. And it was made a national holiday first in 1971 to be observed on the last Monday of May. So that's why we're here. We're here to remember those who sacrificed, who said, I'll sign up to protect your freedoms, even though I might not make it home. We honor them, we salute them, and we say thank you to the ones who made the ultimate sacrifice. I can't imagine what that sacrifice must look like, but I know there are people in the town of Northborough who know it all too well. And so to you, the families and the residents of Northborough, I tip my hat and salute you. We're not having parades this year. We're not having marching bands this year. We're not laying wreaths this year. But we're all in this together. And I look forward to a time when we can come together and do this celebration the way we've always done it, and the way we will continue to do it, because we are Americans and that's what they would have wanted. They sacrificed their lives so we could continue to live ours. And I think about that every day. And I think everyone should think about that every day. So be well, Northborough. Stay safe. Thank you for letting me participate in this celebration today. And I look forward to seeing you all again real soon. And I look forward to celebrating Memorial Day next year with a bigger parade than we've ever put on before.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Face this wreath in honor of the 27 Civil War casualties whose names are on the four sides of this monument. We have a list of those names and we'll be placing that list on the American Legion website.
Hello, I'm Colin McDonald from Troop 1, Northborough, Massachusetts. I will be reciting the Gettysburg Address for Memorial Day. So, yeah. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation, too, conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here have gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what we did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us. That from these honored men we take increased devotion to that cause, for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we were highly resolved that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that the government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Thank you.
Hello, this is State Representative Harold Naughton, reaching out to all of my dear friends in Northborough on this Memorial Day and wishing you the best. I hope you are all healthy and safe, isolating with family, and making the best of these times. We're living in an incredibly trying period. However, I know the people of Northborough will, as they always do, rise to the occasion and take care of friends and family as best as possible under these circumstances. Northborough always shines on Memorial Day, turning out en masse to honor those that have gone before us. I have many great memories of the crowds at the Howard Street Cemetery, the last stop in the parade, turning out to remember our honored dead. We'll miss the great display always put on by the Vincent F Picard American Legion Post, but we can enjoy the thoughts of years past and the thoughts of years to come. This year, we must also remember those lost to COVID-19, as well as of the first responders, medical personnel, and direct care workers who have strived so valiantly to protect, care for, and cure us. They are true heroes, the best of what our Commonwealth and country has to offer. I have been on active duty with the Massachusetts National Guard since early April, and I have seen acts of heroism that match any that I have seen on battlefields in Iraq or Afghanistan. We truly are blessed to have these people walk among us. This will be my last Memorial Day as your state representative. It has been a wonderful 26 years, and yes, it's a bit bittersweet, but this is the best next move in my legal career for my family and myself. But during the last 3 decades, constituents have become friends, and friends have become like family. I will always treasure that. I hope the world opens up over the next few months and we get to spend some time together to share some stories and some laughs. Until then, my deep hope is that you take care of yourself, you take care of your families, and everyone stays healthy. God bless you. All the best.
My name is Jerry Burke. I'm a life member of the Vincent F Picard American Legion Post. And this monument for World War I is as good as you'll see in any city across the country. There are 2 gold stars on this monument. The first one was for Adolph C. Nelson, U.S. Navy. He died in 1918 in the hospital ship in Brooklyn, New York. And I'll bet that it was influenza of the 1918-1919 series. The second gold star is Vincent F Picard, a Northborough resident who died in France during World War I. And Bruce will read a short biography about Vincent F Picard.
My name is Bruce Goldsmith. I'm a member of the Vincent F Picard Post, American Legion. We're here today honoring all for Memorial Day 2020. Let me tell you about Vincent F Picard. Vincent Francis Picard, United States Army, World War I, the namesake of our American Legion Post, was the 4th of 6 children born in Northborough on 25 July 1896 to Frank and Anna Picard, and lived with his family on King Street in what was called the Smith Mills District. The United States entered World War I on the 6th day of April 1917, and 21-year-old Vincent Picard registered at the Marlborough Draft Board on the 5th of June 1917, 2 months later. By the 5th of October 1917, he mustered into the United States Army at then Camp Devens here in Ayer, Massachusetts. By the following April of 2018, his training completed at Camp Gordon, Georgia, and Camp Upton, New York, he embarked to the conflict in France as a first aid man, or a medic as he would be called in today's Army. In Company F, 327th Infantry Regiment, 82nd Infantry Division, whose unit was locked in combat in the Meuse-Argonne offensive in the Battle of the Argonne Forest, when on the 9th of October 1918, Private Picard was severely wounded by an enemy artillery explosion and soon thereafter died. News of his death from the War Department did not reach his parents and the town of Northborough until the 17th of December, 2 months after his loss, and 5 weeks after the war had ended on 11 November 1918. Northborough's joy and celebrations of the First World War's conclusion had a very sad ending indeed. Thank you.
In Flanders Fields, poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead, short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved, and we were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold high, if ye break faith with us who die. We shall not sleep through poppies grow in Flanders Fields.
Present.
Hello, my name is Justin Sousa. I'm a former sergeant in the Army National Guard here in Massachusetts. I'm also the Veteran Service Officer for the town of Northborough, Grafton, Shrewsbury, and Westborough. Here in Northborough today, you'll see a wreath ceremony for the World War II, Korea, and Vietnam conflicts.
Take a step back and turn. Present. Order. This will be the Korean War.
As the Adjutant General of Massachusetts, I take great pride in my role as the primary military advisor to the governor and as a leader of nearly 9,000 members of the Massachusetts Army and Air National Guard. One of the duties I most enjoy is exactly what I'm doing today. Speaking of the importance of honoring and remembering our veterans, our military families, and the Gold Star families who truly represent the best that Massachusetts and America has to offer. Memorial Day is the most important holiday of the year for the military service members, our military families, and especially for the families of the fallen, the American heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice on behalf of freedom and liberty. This holiday began in the aftermath of the Civil War, when the Grand Army of the Republic, a group of Union War veterans, organized an event in one state to decorate the graves of the war dead. The practice spread throughout the United States and became known as Decoration Day. Many years later, after World War II, Decoration Day became formally known as Memorial Day. Memorial Day is a somber holiday, one of remembrance and giving to dignified contemplation rather than joyous celebration. Each Memorial Day, we remember the fallen with a dignity and decorum befitting their sacrifice. It represents an opportunity for all of us to consider the price that has been repeatedly paid by our nation's military service members to ensure the existence and prosperity of our nation. Throughout our history, the American military has been called upon to defend the homeland and oppose the forces of tyranny. For every military member who sacrificed themselves in service to the country, there is a family and a community that has suffered an irreplaceable loss. And yet, even though Memorial Day represents our sadness for a sacrifice and a loss, it's not a day to be given over to despair and hopelessness. Rather, we are inspired that across our nation, each in our own way, to meet our responsibility to preserve our precious freedoms and ensure that our national commitment to liberty and democracy endures. This year, more than ever, on this Memorial Day, in the midst of a devastating pandemic, is proof of our nation's resilience and courage. While Memorial Day traditionally represents the yearly public gathering to commemorate and honor our nation's war dead, it is also a reminder that our military service members continue to serve at home and abroad at great risk. Although this year, Memorial Day public commemorations will be replaced by videos and social distancing events, we must remember that America still relies on an all-volunteer military force. Our country, our values, regardless of challenges and differences, is still producing young men and women who have both the steel in their backbone to fight and protect what our United States Constitution represents and to ensure that evil around the world will not prevail. Right now, 2,000 Massachusetts National Guard soldiers and airmen are serving throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in hospitals and nursing homes, caring for elderly, many of them veterans, administering COVID-19 tests all across the state, delivering personal protective equipment to our first responders, medical professionals, and grocery workers, delivering food and supplies to those citizens hit hardest by COVID-19, and ensuring every veteran who we have lost during COVID-19 receives a dignified military funeral honor as they are transported to their final resting place. As we commemorate in a different way this Memorial Day, I ask you to join our military service members and our fellow citizens at home and abroad in honoring and remembering our fallen brothers and sisters. Without regard to our many differences, Memorial Day represents unity and a common commitment to the values that will always guide our nation. One nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. May God bless the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and all its fallen heroes. May He bless now and forever the United States of America.
Here today, in honor of Memorial Day, we have a memorial to Major Andrew J. Olmstead from Operation Iraqi Freedom. He was in the Military Transition Team, 1st Brigade, 1st Infantry Division, U.S. Army, KIA, January 3rd, 2008, Assadia, Iraq. Here today, in honor of Memorial Day, we have a monument to Specialist Brian K. Arsenault, Company B, 1st Battalion, 504th Parachute Infantry Regiment, 1st Brigade Combat Team, 82nd Airborne Division, U.S. Army. KIA, 4 September 2014, Operation Enduring Freedom, Afghanistan.
My name is Adam Costello. Now this may seem like a different sword from Memorial Day, but that's okay. When this is put together every year, the bulk of the planning process is on who's going to speak where and how to line up for the parade, what the route's going to look like, and what activities will be happening afterwards. And it's a time-consuming process a lot of people are involved in, even though it's pretty much been exactly the same every year that I can remember. We should appreciate the work that goes on behind the scenes and all the volunteers, especially this year, as they adapted so quickly to the current environment and made it possible that we can still come together even while we're apart. We truly appreciate all the work that you've done to make this possible. Memorial Day is often thought of as a military holiday because it's held as a remembrance for those who lost their lives in our wars. It's not a military holiday, though. We're all connected to it. The people who were lost in the wars did so because this nation called on them to fight, and they answered that call on our behalf. Each war that we fight in is our collective responsibility as members of this nation, and as such, it's important that we appreciate the weight of it, the cost of it. The military has greatly changed since 9/11. The war in Afghanistan, which began as a response to the event, is now being fought by soldiers who weren't even born when the war was started. We're in a new situation where parents and children can reminisce together about fighting in the same war in the same places but a generation apart. Our mothers and sisters and daughters have been fully integrated into combat roles throughout the military. Right now, as you're listening to me, a mother might be leading an infantry squad through the mountains of Afghanistan while her son provides air support above. That's the reality of warfare today. And even though we may hear so little about it, we have to pay attention and contemplate why we have collectively determined that these sacrifices are necessary. And if we can't answer that question, if that question isn't clear and obvious to us, then we need to take a closer look. That's our collective responsibility. Not just to those who fought, but to those who are fighting and those who have died so far away from home. Memorial Day is a day to remember the lives lost to us during the wars, and to celebrate those lives and to share their stories so they're never forgotten. It's a day that, for many of us, is filled with sadness, coupled with joy of great memories of the lives that we're so fortunate to have been a part of. We feel that loss so strongly because we feel love. And to shamelessly borrow a quote from Alfred Lord Tennyson, "It is better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all." I feel privileged to have known so many of those who have died in the war since 9/11, even knowing that the pain of those losses will remain with me for the rest of my life. For some, Memorial Day brings memories of a parent or a sibling lost in the war. As a community, we may find ourselves thinking of family and friends and neighbors. Maybe we coached them in hockey, or got in trouble with them back in high school, or just used to see them around town. Maybe we wish we had gotten to know them, but we realize that we'll never have that opportunity again. Since 9/11, we may think of Brian Arsenault, Andrew Olmstead, Brian Moquin, John Dawson, or perhaps somebody else. For those of us that have served, our thoughts may linger on people who we became great and true friends with those that we trained or deployed with overseas. I remember people that you probably never heard of, like John Schoolcraft, Greg Rundell, James McClamrock, Phil Jenkins, David Luff, and others that I went to Iraq with, and they lost their lives far from home. I don't have a lot of time to reminisce here, but I'd like to share a memory from you in the spirit of Memorial Day. And I tend to think of this one a lot because it's so vivid. And so we're up in a mission in North Iraq, and it was 6 days, this was 2010, it was 6 days after the end of combat operations were declared. We were verbally told at that time that if we were questioned, to say that we were an advise and assist team and not a combat team. There was a change made to fit the what was being told back home at the time. And I'll tell you what, if it walks like a duck and looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, you can call it an advise and assist team, but it's still a duck. And so we're out in northern Iraq, a very remote location, and it was day one. We're going to be gone for 3 days. We're going to be up there for 3 days, and Sergeant Phil Jenkins, he was from Indiana. He was in his late 20s. His wife Melissa, 2 young daughters, and he comes walking up and he says, "Doc, can I talk to you for a minute?" I was like, "Sure, man. You know, here we are in the middle of nowhere." And he says, "I get something really important that's really bothering me." And I said, "Well, what could that be?" And He said, I think my wife traded my truck in. Even worse, I think she might have traded it in for a minivan. And so he was very kind of disheartened by this, or he appeared to be. And so we talked a while about, being a dad and having young kids at home. And basically, the best advice I could give at the time was, you got to have the minivan. Got to have the minivan. It's very practical for a young family, and his girls were super young at the time. And I said the best hope that he has when he gets home after all this is said and done is, prepare to see these big oversized baby toys, and the living room have like just toys and wrappers and things all scattered through it. And his best bet was to go downstairs and carve out a piece of the basement, or if we went home on leave, to move a whole bunch of boxes into the spot. So when he came back at the end of that deployment, he could move those boxes up and create like this man cave with a big TV and stuff. And we laughed and had a good time. And and just talked about life in general, and that was a common talk. But he was looking forward to getting back to his wife, and of course to his little girls. And the next day he was killed. But that was just the reality of where we were. And turned out a while, that whole conversation about might have traded in the minivan stuck with me quite a bit. And it was about a year later, I did reach out to his wife Melissa, and I said, kind of shared that story with her, and she told me, she goes that liar, he told me to trade in the truck for the minivan. He just wanted to look like a man. So I thought that was a funny story. It's sad, but it's a memory that I'm glad that I have. So I remember coming home a week or so later on leave. It was probably about 2 weeks after that I came home on leave. And I was picking my kids up from Proctor Elementary. That's where they went to school when they were little. And again, this was 10 years ago. And I remember the parents, while I was waiting to pick up the kids, they were asking me if I was coming home soon now that the war was over, and they were happy that there was peace in the area and that everything settled down and the danger was gone. And I couldn't really say a lot at that time. And definitely being in front of an elementary school probably wasn't the right time or place anyway, but I'm grateful to be able to share that memory with you now. I'm grateful for having the chance to get to know Phil during our time together and through our years of training, and have to be able to talk about it today. That's just one of the 1,000 stories of our recent wars, and I hope this helps bring a little bit more understanding of why Memorial Day is so important to so many people. And grateful for the opportunity that we can actually share these stories and tell these stories and keep these memories alive. So I hope you're all staying safe and healthy at home, and staying connected to your community. We care about you very much. Thanks for letting me spend this time with you today. I truly appreciate it. I'm looking forward to seeing you around town here in the near future. All right, take care.
Hello, I'm Jason Perrault, Chairman of the Northborough Board of Selectmen, speaking on the occasion of the town's Memorial Day observance in May of 2020. I first want to thank our Veterans Agent, Justin Sousa, Burroughs Cares for Troops, and American Legion Post 234 for the work they've done to organize this virtual observance. I also want to thank Kathy Dalgleish of Northborough Cable Access for her technical assistance to produce this video presentation. As we gather today, we do so while under siege by an enemy incursion on American soil, a far different enemy than what we typically envision in the context of military service. The impacts are many and are not yet fully realized. Jobs lost and workers furloughed, schools closed, leaving parents and students and teachers to cope with the challenges of remote learning. High school and college graduates and their families denied the traditional celebration and closure they rightfully earned for their many years of hard work. Local businesses struggling to survive, adapting as best they can and relying on the loyal support of their patrons to help sustain them. Frontline medical caregivers and emergency responders called upon to put themselves at even greater risk as they help the afflicted and the broad isolation and loss of socialization with family and friends that is taking a toll on all of us. As a backdrop to all of this, there lies an uneasy tension between the restrictions placed on our individual freedom and the willing, collective, collaborative effort we must make as a community to blunt the advance of this enemy and put ourselves on a path to one day resume life as we knew it. There are no easy or obvious answers to the challenges we face. Every day is a work in progress. Every day a new complication arises. Every day is another day the battle must be fought. There is no army to fight this battle for us. We ourselves are the soldiers who must meet this enemy and neutralize it. On this day, as we remember and honor the fallen who in earlier conflicts died in the service of their country, let us also draw upon their example of leadership, courage, and sacrifice, and apply it to the challenge that now confronts us. Surely the sacrifices we are called upon to make today fall far short of the sacrifices they made to preserve the life and liberty that we know and cherish. It is my sincere hope that by this time next year, all of us working together will have secured some measure of victory, and that we will once again gather at the town common. We will conduct our procession and observance at each memorial. We will speak the names of Brian Arsenal, Neil Ellsworth, David McAfee, and the many others who preceded them. And we will make our proper acknowledgement to those who gave their lives to preserve our freedom. Let the memory of their sacrifice be our source of inspiration and strength today. Thank you, and God bless.
Hello, my name is Stephen Jordison. I'm pastor of Rice Memorial Baptist Church, and I'm greatly honored to offer the prayer for this Memorial Day recognition. Allow me to pray. O Lord our God, today we remember one of the greatest gifts you have given to these United States of America, the great men and women of our armed forces who have given their lives in service to their country. Throughout the 244 years of this country's history, and even prior, you have raised up men and women who have loved freedom more than themselves, who have loved their nation's way of life more than their own lives. Men and women called to be watchmen on the wall, to stand in the gap, and to defend the Constitution and our way of life from all kinds of enemies. These heroes we honor today have given their lives for freedom, and for their sacrifice we are eternally grateful. We remember also the law enforcement officers who have given their lives in service to their communities, heroes on the local front. The freedom we enjoy today is due to the selfless sacrifice of these great warriors, men and women of valor throughout the generations. Lord, we also pray for the families left behind. These too have sacrificed and have suffered great loss. May you grant them comfort and healing, knowing that a grateful nation stands with them and will never forget their loss and their sacrifice. Keep them and protect them by your grace. I pray that this Memorial Day recognition will lead us to be mindful of the great sacrifice these fallen veterans have made through the generations, establishing and securing our freedom. Bless their names, and may their memories and our gratitude be eternal. Lord God, we pray you would continue to bless these United States of America, the armed forces, and all your people. In the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and our Savior, we pray these things together. Amen.
I have John Brewer and Bruce Goldsmith with me today, and we're here to commemorate the Howard Street Cemetery Memorial for past veterans of all wars. And in addition to what we know to be veterans that have passed, we have Vincent F Picard, American Legion post, keeps track of members that have passed in the last year. I'm going to read the post-everlasting name from last May to this May. Alfred R. Prudhomme Jr., U.S. Navy veteran, a 25-year member of the American Legion Post. Rodney F. Marston, U.S. Army Air Force, World War II, piloted a B-17 in Europe, and he was a 36-year member of the American Legion Post. Paul J. Schulten, U.S. Army, Vietnam, and he was 26 years a member of the post. Richard C. Hossack, U.S. Army, World War II, 32 years, American Legion. Robert F. Gorman, 28 years, American Legion, U.S. Army, World War II. Robert W. Durbano, 17 years, American Legion, Vietnam era veteran. And I'll add one more name, Alan Longworth, who passed a week or two ago, and there hasn't been a ceremony where we would normally do a burial at a cemetery with military honors. So we're here to honor those few people, and we'll place a wreath.
Hi, we're here at the Howard Street Cemetery in front of our beautiful memorial and several vehicles that are usually in the parade that we have on Memorial Day, driven by a group of local patriots. Also behind me we have the Northborough American Legion and Karen Brewster from Northborough's Cares for Troops. She was instrumental in organizing this year's celebration. And you'll notice that it was a lot different than our normal traditional parade because of the COVID pandemic that we're currently experiencing. So this year, in respect to the local guidance from the town and the state, we are not having our normal Memorial Day parade or any of the normal municipal events surrounding Memorial Day. Instead, we're creating a virtual celebration to be shown on local cable access and social media. And I also have to thank Terry Underwood and Kathy Dalglish, who are producing this video for you all to see here on Memorial Day. And this is played in lieu of an actual parade. So I want to say on behalf of the town of Northborough and the Central Mass Veterans Service District, thank you. Thank you very much for being a part of this. And thank you, viewers, for taking the time to honor our veterans by watching our production. It's still Memorial Day. It's still the time to honor the fallen and remember those in your family or family friends who gave their lives in protection of our great nation. So I hope you have a safe and healthy Memorial Day and enjoy some time with your close family. Thank you.